In this video, I wanted to see if I could beat a relay race hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokémon Platinum. What's a relay race Nuzlocke, you may ask? Well, just like in a real relay race, every time I beat a gym leader, I'll be passing the baton on to a new group of Pokémon to carry on the next leg of my journey. This run is really going to test my ability to plan ahead and my knowledge of Pokémon Platinum, especially because under my hardcore Nuzlocke rules, if a Pokémon faints, it's considered dead and must be released. I can also only catch the first eligible encounter per area. Do we have what it takes then to beat what could quickly turn into one of the hardest Pokémon Platinum runs I've ever done? Let's jump in and find out. Oh, and remember to leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and if you want to see more unique Nuzlocke challenges like this one, remember to subscribe. Let's get on with the run. So first things first, we've got to pick our starter, and due to my relay race Nuzlocke rules, this starter is only going to be coming with us to our first gym fight. That immediately rules out Chimchar, as both Turtwig and Piplup are better against Rourke. I decide on Turtwig, which is actually going to give my rival an Infernape down the line, which is probably a mistake. Oh well, Athletics has joined the team, so let's start this journey. Now, because I'll be losing all my Pokemon once I beat the first gym, I'm going to be trying to save encounters as much as possible. Unfortunately, the game makes this slightly more difficult by not allowing me to buy repels until after the first gym. This means I can't just run straight to our first gym fight with Athletics, like I was planning to, and instead we do run into a couple of Pokemon on our way. The first of these Pokemon is a Bidoof I named Volleyball. I'm not too worried about losing out on using Bidoof somewhere else in this run because, you know, it's just a Bidoof. On Route 203, I am able to grab a single repel, which is going to let me skip my Allberg Gate encounter for now. Before I can use this repel, however, I do run into another Pokemon on Route 203, a Shinx I named Track. While Track is adorable, he's not particularly useful, so like Volleyball, it's not a huge problem that I've caught him so early. I then use my repel to skip my Allberg Gate encounter, and I'm hoping maybe the repel will last long enough to skip my Allberg Mine encounter as well. Of course not. Well, suppose that was optimistic. Annoyingly, I do find a Zubat here. I would have liked to have saved catching Judo through our second gym, as Crobat would have completely soloed that fight. It wasn't meant to be though, meaning we've now got a Zubat through our Rock-type gym. Aren't I lucky? At least there's nothing now standing between us and Rourke, meaning we can easily win our first gym badge of the run with 3 Razor Leafs, as Athletics is able to completely walk all over this gym fight. Easy first win. Now though, we've got to rebuild our team from scratch, thinking ahead not just to our second gym fight against Gardenia, but also Mars and her fat cat. I can now go catch a Geodude from Allberg Gate, which would pretty easily handle Mars, but it would mean I wouldn't have anything to use against Jupiter soon after. So instead of going straight for Geodude, I instead head north onto Route 207, where I get lucky and find what I'm looking for, a Machop I name Wrestling. With Wrestling, I now have a pretty solid counter to Mars, so with access to repels, I decide to save my Geodude encounter in Allberg Gate for later. I do still have Gardenia to think about though, and Machop is a bit weak by himself, so I decide to backtrack and catch a Starly at Lake Verity. Cycling pairs rather nicely with Machop, and he's immediately able to evolve into a powerful Staravia. With my duo collected, I'm pretty confident then, so I push ahead to Valley Windworks, where Mars awaits. So Mars starts with Zubat, while I start with Cycling. Annoyingly, a single wing attack just misses the KO on the blind bat, but because I came prepared, it doesn't matter as Zubat only lands a Toxic, which is healed by a held Pecha Berry. A second wing attack then takes down the Zubat. Right, now all I've got to deal with is Mars's ace, her fat cat, her ugly. I'm hoping after a couple of intimidates, Wrestling can handle the cat, so I immediately switch on a decently hard fake out. Crits could be bad here, but my luck holds out long enough to keep switching and get the fat cat to -2 attack. I decide with the cat slightly crippled, I might as well get off what damage I can with Cycling before switching back into Machop, but Cycling is clearly a glory hog because she 2-shots the cat by getting a crit on the second wing attack. Huh, okay then, didn't even need Wrestling. Not going to complain though, because with Mars down, I can carry on heading towards Eternia City where our second gym fight awaits. Once I reach Eternia though, I decide to play it safe and catch another encounter just so Cycling doesn't have to basically solo this entire second gym fight. On Route 205, I am able to find a Cascoon I name Gymnastics. Cascoon is great because I can immediately evolve him into a powerful Dustox. Only one teeny tiny problem with Gymnastics though. Can you spot what it is? Yeah, early gen movesets can be really underwhelming overwhelming sometimes. This forces me to use my return TM slightly earlier than I would have liked, but despite Gymnastics' lackluster learn set, I'm still fairly confident going into this fight, so let's see how this goes. I start with Cycling, while Gardenia starts with Turtwig. Despite being slightly annoying and setting up a Reflect, Cycling is able to KO the Grass starter with a couple of wing attacks. Second is Cherrim. Cherrim isn't very threatening, but it does manage to set up a Leech Seed that brings my bird really low before Cycling is able to pick up another KO with a couple more wing attacks. That just leaves Gardenia's Ace Roserade, and I could just switch out here, but it's not like I'm going to be able to use Cycling after this fight, so I stay in to get Gymnastics in for 3. Somehow though, my bird survives on 2 HP after taking a Magical Leaf and then very nearly KOs with a single wing attack. Okay Cycling, you've clearly put the work in. I'll switch you out now so you get to live. Oh, forgot about Leech Seed. Oops, was going to let Cycling live there, but clearly wasn't meant to be. At the very least, Gymnastics is able to come in and KO with a single return, and with that, we've won our second gym badge. That honestly wasn't too bad, but unfortunately, I've now got to start thinking about something much more scary, my next gym fight against Fantina, which is not going to be easy. I really don't know what I'm going to catch to handle Fantina, but at least I've still got my plan in place to handle Jupiter, so I run all the way back to Orberg Gate and catch myself Golf the Geodude. This gives me time to think, and I realise there's actually one powerful ghost Pokemon I can grab before my next gym fight, a Ghastly I name Hockey, in the old chateau. I'm pretty confident Hockey will be able to outspeed and one-shot the next gym once she's evolved, up until the point where I look at her learn set. Not a single special attacking ghost move. Oh for fuck. At the very least, I'm able to evolve Golf and Hockey into their secondary forms, which means Jupiter is another easy fight. Going to need some more encounters though if I want any chance against Fantina, and I can think of one Pokemon that might help. Unfortunately no, not Spice the Psyduck. He's here so I can repel Manip, a guaranteed Baneri. I name this Baneri Football, and then I'm immediately able to evolve Football into a Furry's Wet Dream, and thanks to Foresight, she might just be what I need to push through this next gym fight. With my team built up then, and Spice brought along for moral support, I'm able to travel down the cycling path and make it to Hearthome, meaning it's time for our third gym battle of the run. So Fantina starts with Duskull, and I start with Hockey. Annoyingly, Hockey's physical attack is so low, a single Shadow Punch isn't able to get the one shot on the smaller ghost, meaning Hockey gets hit with a Will-O-Wisp. Right, there's my one ghost type crippled for the rest of this fight. After Fantina heals, 2 more Shadow Punches are enough for my first KO. Then the Mismagius comes out, and this is the really scary one. This hat-wearing nightmare is really fast and hits like a truck, so fingers crossed my team of Misfits can handle her. Before Mismagius can even get off an attack, I'm able to switch into my strangely sexy rabbit on a Shadow Ball, which she's immune to. Perfect. Surprisingly, I then outspeed and land a Foresight. Maybe this won't be that bad. And of course Mismagius crits a Psybeam, doing a lot of damage. Okay, need better luck than that, or we simply won't win this fight. Luckily, Football doesn't miss a jump kick on the following turn, but it actually doesn't do as much as I'm hoping. Really missing that return TM right now, stupid Dustox and his shitty moveset. Even worse, thanks to a Citrus Berry, my bunny unfortunately isn't able to KO Fantina's Ace before being brought down by Psybeams. Rest in peace Football, your sacrifice might still give us the win. Football was able to bring the Mismagius low enough to where Psyduck can come in, like always, and save the day. You got this Psyduck, I believe in you. Oh fuck, didn't know this gym leader had 2 healing items. Right, well at least I got lucky with Disable on the Confuse rate. That's one less thing to deal with. I decide it's time for Hockey to prove his worth, so I send her in on a resisted Magical Leaf. She's unfortunately only able to get off 1 Shadow Punch before being taken down, but at least now Spice can come in and finish off the Mismagius, right? Psyduck, I love you. This is why I never use you in any of my runs. I'm now in a really awkward spot. Even if Golf can survive a hit here, and I don't think he's going to be able to, he's almost certainly not going to be able to survive a hit and then take down the Haunter after the Mismagius goes down. I think I've lost this fight at this point, but I don't have a choice but to keep on trying, so I go through a rock throw and hold my breath, and Golf lives on 16 HP, meaning he's able to land the rock throw and finish off the Mismagius. Golf, you absolute mad lad. Unfortunately, despite your best efforts though, this is where this attempt is most likely going to end, because there's no way you're taking down this last ghost, unless Fantina misses a Hypnosis before my legendary Golf Ball survives a Shadow Claw and lands one last rock throw to win us the match. Golth, I love you. I really thought that was over, but somehow we pulled off what was an incredibly close win. 3rd gym badge acquired. Unfortunately, after that incredibly tense fight, I don't even have a chance to catch my breath because before I can even leave Hearthome, my rival is waiting to ambush me. That means I'm going to have to catch a couple of Pokemon to handle his pretty varied team before anything else. So just outside of Hearthome, on Route 208, I find a Bidoof I named Curling. I was hoping to save my Bidoof encounter for Crash Awake, but unfortunately, that plan didn't work out. Next, I head into Mount Cornet, and I find myself a Bronzong I named Basketball. Now, I could try and find another Pokemon, considering my rival has Monferno, and both my Pokemon are weak to fire, but Basketball has Heat Proof, so I'm sure this will go fine. Okay, I will admit that was slightly closer than I would have liked, but we do manage to get past our rival with no deaths. My rival has such a varied team, I can tell this is going to be the kind of run where he's going to be a pain in the arse. Oh well, that's the future me problem. Instead I focus on heading past Zelacion Town onto Route 210, where I accidentally run into a Pokemon. I'm not complaining about finding a cipher here, but I'll be honest, this was an accident. I was running to the next route to find one instead, and didn't realise my repel had worn off. That's the happiest accident I can think of though, other than my birth, so I'm not going to complain. Welcome aboard, Shooting. I then get even luckier because Shooting has Technician, which means once we've got to Veilstone City, after a couple of mildly tricky trainer battles, Shooting is able to completely destroy Maylene and her fighting types with a couple of wing attacks. Nice and simple gym fight, needed that after the nightmare that was Fantina. Moving on then, thinking about what Pokemon I need to beat yet another rival fight and Crash Awake, I can think of one electric type that might be able to solo both of these upcoming fights. So I head all the way to the Pokemon Mansion, and in the Trophy Garden, I can find a guaranteed Pichu. Now you might be wondering how Pichu is going to help me solo both my rival and Crash Awake, the latter of which has a threatening ground type. Well, firstly, I can easily evolve Pichu into Raichu with a Thunderstone I find in the underground. Still got to find a way to deal with Quagsire, however, but for some strange reason, Raichu can learn Grass Knot. This is the perfect move for my current situation, as it means I don't need to catch any more Pokemon for this next section of the game. My rival's whole team falls to Thunderbolts, even if Roselia does prove to be slightly annoying. Then it's Crash Awake's turn, and a single Thunderbolt is enough for his Gyarados, a Grass Knot easily dispatches his Quagsire, and then all that's left is his Slotzle. Okay, holy shit, wasn't expecting to be outsped there, just got very, very lucky I didn't get crit. Oh well, it all worked out. That's the 5th gym badge acquired. Now I've got a decently long section of the game to get through, so going to need to get a couple of different Pokemon to get past Cyrus and a really scary rival fight, and then of course our 6th gym battle. Firstly, I return to Valley Windworks, hoping to find a water Pokemon. Instead, I find this admittedly cute Pikachu clone, a Pachirisu I name Rugby. Rugby isn't exactly what I was looking for, but he's better than nothing. My search for a water Pokemon continues then. This time I decide to look on Route 212, and I find a Shellos I name Sailing. After Sailing evolves into a Gastrodon, he should be perfect for our 6th gym battle, but unfortunately I am going to need to find one more Pokemon, because otherwise, as soon as we ran into a grass Pokemon, we'd be in a bit of trouble. Luckily I am able to find something that kind of works as a counter to grass type Pokemon. On 209, we name Polo. Once Polo has evolved into a Gardevoir, we're then able to make our way to Celestic Town, where we run into our first Cyrus battle of the game. It's a bit touch and go in places, and I do get lucky by not getting crit, but thankfully I bought the perfect tools for the job, as Sailing is able to take out Sneasel, Polo is able to handle the Golbat, and last but not least is Murkrow, who is taken down by my Pachirisu. Right, Cyrus taken down. Unfortunately though, that just leaves us right into another problem, our rival battle in Canalave. I didn't realise until I got to this fight just how stacked my rival's team has actually gotten. Because of how scary this rival fight is, I decide I'm going to need to do a little bit more prep work before we try and win this. I decide to grab one more Pokemon, this time in the Safari Zone. After finding a shit ton of annoying B-Barrels, like seriously they won't leave me alone, I finally find and catch the newest member of our relay, a Yanma I name Rowing. Once Rowing has evolved into a Yang Mega, I finally feel confident enough to challenge our rival, so let's go do this. My rival starts with Staraptor and I start with Rowing. I've I've given rowing the choice specs, so a single choice specs boosted ancient power is enough for a one-shot, good start. Second is the very scary Infernape, so I switched through sailing into Polo. Luckily this works perfectly, meaning Polo only has to take a brick break on the switch, and then a flame wheel that of course burns before KOing with a single psychic. Third is Heracross, who Polo would be able to one-shot, but I'm not confident on outspeeding here. Because of this, I decide it's best to lower the Scary Bug's attack with Charms, so I switch into Rugby, get off the Charm, and immediately get crit. Well, that could have gone better. Rest in peace, Rugby. You were taken from us too soon. Rugby did her job though, because thanks to Charms, I'm now able to resend in Polo, who tanks a Night Slash before KOing with a single Psychic. Of course, the burn then still takes down Polo, but if I want to get through this, I can't stop to mourn. Next, my rival sends in Floatzel, so I send in Rowing, who can easily take down the Fat Weasel with a couple of ancient powers. All that leaves to my rival then is Roserade, who can't really touch my Dragonfly, so after 2 ancient powers and a struggle, I'm able to end this nightmare of the rival fight. Okay, took a couple of casualties there, but we made it through. That means it's time for our next gym fight, or it would be if I hadn't accidentally overleveled sailing against the gym trainers. Right, that's annoying, but thankfully there's another equally useful water type I can grab not far on Route 218, a Floatzel I name Sailing. Sailing is completely perfect for this gym because once I've given him the choice specs and taught him the HM Surf, he's able to completely wash away Byron's entire team, even if my Dragonfly does die in the process. Father like son, I suppose, this family is just full of pushovers. That's our 6th gym badge acquired, 2 more to go. Time to catch some more Pokemon then, and firstly I decide to head south to Route 219 to catch myself a Tentacool. Swimming is surprisingly fast and is able to hit hard with powerful water attacks, so he's the perfect Pokemon to smash through all the annoying Team Galactic stuff I have to deal with on my way to my 7th gym battle. Swimming obviously can't do everything by himself, so I also decide to head back to Auburg Town to revive the skull fossil I found earlier to get myself a Sheldon. Esports impressive physical bulk pairs really nicely with Swimming's special bulk, so with my dream team duo, I'm able to easily dispatch Mars and Saturn before starting my long journey north to Snowpoint City. Once I arrive, it's time for our next gym battle. Now Candace is often fairly difficult, but thankfully my team walls her pretty hard, so I'm hoping this won't be too difficult. So the ice type gym leader starts with Sneasel, and I start with Swimming. Swimming does have to take 2 strong feint attacks before KOing with 2 surfs. Now you might be wondering why I didn't start with esports here, and it's because having Swimming out baits the Pillow Swine as the AI sees the super effective ground type attack into my Tentacruel. This is perfect because Swimming can then outspeed and KO with a single surf. Third for Candace is her ace Throstlass, so I switch into esports on a resisted Shadow Ball. Throstlass then does start spamming double teams, which is very annoying, but thankfully after landing 1 ancient power, esports gets an Omni boost, meaning a 2nd ancient power is easily able to pick up another KO. Last for Candace then is a Bomber Snow, and I'm expecting esports to go down here, but my tanky boy proves his worth and refuses to die. After dodging the 1st ancient power, esports is able to survive the 2nd one, which allows him to get off the 2nd ancient power to KO the creepy Yeti and win us our 7th gym badge of the run. We're now entering the end game, and luckily I've been saving a couple of encounters for just this point. Firstly, I grab an Eevee in Heart Home, who I name Table Tennis, and immediately evolve Table Tennis into a Jolteon. I then head to the Iron Island to grab myself another strong steel type, a Steelix I name Breakdance. Next, I go back to Twinleaf Town to grab myself a Magikarp I name Boxing. With a pretty powerful team assembled, I'm then able to battle my way through Team Galactic up until the Cyrus fight in the Distortion World. This fight was the one I was worried about because Cyrus's team is pretty stacked. I'm pretty sure I bought the perfect team to counter Cyrus's collection of monsters though, so let's hope this goes well. Cyrus starts with Houndoom and I start with Boxing. Houndoom does threaten with Thunderfang, but after an Intimidate, Boxing doesn't actually take that much damage and then is able to hit back with a single Aqua Tail to KO the Hellhound. Second for Cyrus is his own Gyarados, so I switch into Table Tennis on an Ice Fang that doesn't do too much. A single Thunderbolt is then enough for another easy KO. Third is Weavile, who would be super scary. Luckily though, I've got Breakdance, who walls this speedy boy pretty hard. So after Breakdance is brought to 50% by Ice Punches, the Weavile goes down to Iron Tails. Fourth is Haunch Crow, so I switch into Table Tennis on a Heat Wave that doesn't do a huge amount, but annoyingly does get the burn. That's put Table Tennis on a timer, but at the very least he's able to one-shot the fat hat wearing bird with another Thunderbolt. Last the Cyrus is Crobat, and I'm actually worried about being outsped here. I'd rather not take that risk with Table Tennis so low, so I switch into Breakdance on a Cross Poison that he's immune to. Breakdance then has to take a weak Air Slash before landing a Rock Tomb that lowers the purple bat's speed. I'm pretty sure I'm going to need Breakdance for the next gym, and I can't get Table Tennis in without sacrificing someone, so that means the bell has chimed for Boxing. So I switch my Water Dragon in, fully expecting Boxing to go down quite quickly here, but surprisingly, Boxing avoids an Air Slash on the switch. Maybe I'll get through this with 0 deaths, especially because Crobat only goes for a Toxic on the following turn. That's perfect because it allows Boxing to get off an Ice Fang that very nearly KOs, and then on the following turn, I should be free to get off one more Ice Fang for the KO here, or Crobat will crit. Well, shit, that's annoying. Boxing was so close to making it through this fight, rest in peace. If nothing else, thanks to having its speed lowered, I'm now able to safely send in Table Tennis and finish off the bat with a single Thunderbolt. With that, Team Galactic has been taken down. Shame to have lost Boxing there, but we got through, that's what matters. Moving on to Sunny Shore City then, I fully expect to be able to sweep Volkner's entire team with Breakdance, but unfortunately, I overlooked the fact that his Raichu has Focus Blast. Focus Blast is so threatening, I decide to go and catch another Pokemon just to be on the safe side. Inside the Ruin Maniac's tunnel, I grab a Hippowdon who I name Patrol. Patrol is the perfect Pokemon through our last gym battle because he's able to completely walk all over Volkner's entire team and one-shot every single one of his Pokemon. That's our last gym taken down then, meaning all that's standing between us and victory is the Pokemon League. Of course, that means catching our last set of encounters for our final challenge, so let's see who we've managed to round up. Firstly, we've got Badminton, the Houndoom, who should be really useful against Aron and Lucian. Second is Archery, the Electivire, who is going to be vital if I want any chance of getting past Cynthia's Milotic and Togekiss. Third, I've got Skateboard, the Pelipper, who should bring me some much needed coverage against Flint and Bertha. Fourth is Snowboard, the Weavile, who is incredibly fast and hits like a truck, giving me the perfect counter to a certain someone's very scary Garchomp. Fourth is Triathlon, the Gliscor, who is here for some added bulk to my fairly frail team, and because, well, I like Gliscors and I never usually use them. And last, but certainly not least, is Handball, the Togekiss, who is another really bulky Pokemon to round out my team, and an excellent support Mon who has access to Yawn and Encore. I've been able to assemble a pretty powerful team out of my remaining encounter locations then, so let's go see if we've got what it takes to secure the victory and beat this hardcore Nuzlocke. Remember to wish me luck by leaving a like if you haven't so far, and subscribing for more in the future. Let's go end this. So first up for this Elite Four is Aron, and thanks to our pretty big level difference, Badminton is able to one-shot every single one of Aron's stupid bugs with flamethrowers, with the exception of Drapion that does survive one attack and then is easily taken down by a second. Easy. Second for this Elite Four then is Bertha, who isn't that much more difficult than Aron. Wishcash, Golem, and Rhyperior all fall to Surfs pretty easily. The one issue I do run into is Gliscor, who actually survives a Choice Specs boosted Surf and hits back with the heart attack inducing Thunderfang. Luckily, my fat seagull survives, so it's a simple case of switching into Snowboard, who KOs with a single Ice Punch. That just leaves a Powdon, who is tanky enough to be annoying. My team is able to slowly whittle down the Hippo though, before Snowboard is able to come back in and finish off the Sand Monster with another Ice Punch. Third for this Elite Four is Flint, and this is the member of this Elite Four that I think I had the worst matchup into, so hopefully this goes well. Flint starts with his Dire Puppy Houndoom, while I start with Archery. Archery isn't quite able to get the one shot on the Hellhound with a single Thunder Punch, meaning he has to take a weak Flamethrower before 2 more Thunder Punches are enough to knock out the puppy after Flint heals. Third for Flint is his terrifying Infernape, and I assume that this monkey is going to go for Earthquake here. Annoyingly though, as I switch into Handball, instead the monkey goes through a Flare Blitz that does a huge amount of damage. My Air Blimp is tanky enough to take a second Flare Blitz though, and then it's a simple case of finishing off the Infernape with a single air slash. To be honest, I'm just glad that Monkey's gone. Third for Flint is another scary fire type though, his intimidating Magmortar. I'm pretty sure Togekiss is baiting a Thunderbolt though, so I switch into Triathlon, who is immune to the attack. Unfortunately, Triathlon wasn't able to learn any ground type attacks, meaning he's only able to get off the strong Aerial Ace that doesn't KO before being hit by a really hard flamethrower. Even after a Citrus Berry heals back some of the damage, I don't feel confident taking another one of those, so I go through a U-turn and switch into Badminton. Annoyingly, thanks to Magmortar's own Citrus Berry, Badminton does miss the KO with his Thirst Crunch and has to take a Thunderbolt. Luckily though, my puppy takes the hit well and then finishes off the Magma Monster with a second Crunch. Two more Pokemon to go then, the first of which is Flareon. I'm not sure what move Flareon is going to go for here, so I decide to take a risk and switch straight into Skateboard. My risk pays off because Flareon only goes through a quick attack and then Skateboard outspeeds and one-shots with a Surf. That just leaves Flint's Flaming Horse Rampadash, and I'm fairly sure Skateboard is baiting a Solar Beam here, so I decide to stay in, and my prediction is correct, meaning I'm completely safe to land another Surf through a final KO. Was slightly worried going into that fight, but honestly was pretty straightforward. Last of this Elite Four is Lucian, and I'm pretty confident Badminton and Snowboard can take down most of this Elite Four members' team. Just have to be careful around the Gallade and the Bronzong. So Lucian starts with Mr. Mime, and I start with Snowboard. Unsurprisingly, a single Night Slash is enough for a nice easy first KO. Second is Gallade, my main concern going into this fight. I can't let Snowboard take a Stone Edge here, so I switch into Triathlon. Triathlon then has to take a really hard Psycho Cut, but thankfully a Citrus Berry heals back some of the damage. Unfortunately, a single Aerial Ace isn't enough for a one-shot, meaning I do have to take one more attack before I can KO with the second Aerial Ace. As long as Stone Edge doesn't crit here, I should be fine. Okay, that was way too close. Triathlon somehow survived that though, and is able to take down the Gallade with another Aerial Ace. Just had a mild heart attack, but at least that thing's gone. Third is Espeon, so I switch into Snowboard, who immediately outspeeds and KOs with a Night Slash. Then the second problem of this fight comes out, Bronzong. I'm pretty sure the best way to deal with this bell is to lock it down with Encore, so I switch into Handball as the Bronzong goes through a Calm Mind. That's perfect because I'm now safe to lock the bell into Calm Mind and then land a Yawn. I then switch into Archery as the bell falls asleep. This means I'm completely safe to KO with a combination of Fire Punches and Thunder Punches. That just leaves Alakazam, who would be scary if I didn't have Snowboard, who is able to come in on a Psychic, which he's immune to, and then KO with a single Night Slash. That could have gotten scary, but we made it through with no deaths, meaning all that's left for us at this point is Cynthia. Cynthia's team is always scary, but I've got a team full of counters to basically all of her Pokemon, so let's go end this. Cynthia starts with Spiritomb, and I start with Badminton. Badminton actually resists all of Spiritomb's attacks and has pretty high special defense, so he's easily able to KO the Ghost with two Choice Specs boosted Flamethrowers. Second is Milotic, so I switch through Skateboard to get Archery in for 3. Archery then very nearly gets the one shot with a Thunder Punch, but unfortunately can't quite do enough damage to take down the Milotic in one hit. This means he has to take a strong Surf in retaliation before KOing with a couple more Thunder Punches as Cynthia heals on the following turn. Then the Ace of Aces comes out and I can handle this monster pretty easily, just have to get Snowboard in safely. I'm pretty sure I might need Archery later on in this fight, so that means someone else is probably going to have to go down here. I'm sorry Skateboard, your time has come. So I send in my Seagull on a Dragon Rush that somehow Pelipper survives. Well, even with your determination, you're not going to survive another one of those, so I salute as I prepare for the death of Skateboard, and Skateboard dodges the attack, landing an Ice Beam that very nearly KOs the Garchomp. Okay, I get it Skateboard, you're just a trooper, but there's no way you're surviving through a third turn, right? Well, Skateboard must be blessed because Cynthia decides to switch into Lucario. Jesus Skateboard, you're one lucky bird. Of course Skateboard then does go down to an extreme speed on the following turn, but I suppose I have to respect the hustle of bringing yourself a few extra turns of life. Rest in peace Skateboard, I hope it was worth it. With Skateboard finally down, I can send in Badminton, who one-shots the Lucario with a Flamethrower. Then the Garchomp comes back out, and this time I decide to switch into Triathlon, who is immune to Earthquake. A Dragon Rush then hits Gliscor hard, but he survives, meaning he's able to finish off the Garchomp with an Ice Fang. Okay, not really how I was expecting this fight to go, though haven't even used Snowboard yet, but somehow it's working out. We're nearly at the end of this fight, but unfortunately we are going to have to let one more Pokemon go down here before we're guaranteed the victory. So with a heavy heart, I stay in with Triathlon and watch as my best bitey boy is taken down by an Air Slash. Rest in peace, Gliscor, your sacrifice has given us the win. I can now get Snowboard in completely safely, and he's able to one-shot the Togekiss with an Ice Punch, and then Roserade also goes down to a single Ice Punch. It's over, we've beaten our relay race hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokemon Platinum. That was honestly one of the most fun runs I've done. I really had to think about what Pokemon I should bring to every fight, and what Pokemon I should save for later. If you enjoyed the run and want to see me tackle this challenge in another Pokemon game, let me know in the comments which game I should try. Thanks again for watching, I'll see you all next time.